And I'm going to go live in Facebook. And I got your message. All right, publish to Facebook, share in a group. Oh my goodness, can I spell this morning? No. All right, authority online. Oops. Should really do this way before. Okay, authority online. Boom, done. Go live. We are live in Facebook. Our attendees are going to be joining us in 9 seconds. You can hear the bells tolling in the background here, maybe. Now broadcasting. Hello, whoever has chosen to join us on this Friday morning, late morning. Thank you all for being here. I'm very excited to welcome Aisha Adams. She is a fantastic public speaker, among many things. I became aware of Aisha because she also spoke at the Conversion Control Summit. When was that? Oh, and she just disappeared, and she will be back. Aisha is a phenomenon all in of herself, I have to say. She's got a lot of stuff going on here, and she's going to pop back on. We were having some technical difficulties earlier, so I'm hoping this doesn't continue, but we shall see. I'm hoping she's going to come back. And hello to whoever has joined us, trying to get a sense of how many people are here. Hi, Angela. How's it going? Thanks for saying hi. I'm glad you can see me and hear me. Jackie Ross. Hello. Happy Friday to you too, Angela. I'm glad you could come. I'm glad you could join us. So Aisha will be with us shortly. She's sort of swirling around in the virtual space right now. So I'm going to read her bio for you. She is an influencer with a heart for, there she is, for community economic development, social change advocates, thought leaders, and courageous disruptors. I love that line, courageous disruptors. She is founder and CEO of Aisha Adams Media Group and partner organization Equity Over Everything, which advances equity by closing gaps in entrepreneurship and home ownership, which is very important, in low resource communities. Aisha's other ventures include the Asheville View, a daytime style talk show that addresses hot button issues in Asheville. Nappy Thoughts, a personal blog followed by thousands of people on social media, and the Entrepreneurial Accelerator for a business boot camp that ties fledgling businesses to community resources. Aisha earned her bachelor's degree in English from University of Alabama at Birmingham and her Master of Science degree in adult education from Capella University. More information about Aisha and all of her programs can be found somewhere. She didn't put the link in here, but we're going to add all of those links. And Aisha, you're doing a lot of stuff. I mean, do you sleep? What's happening?
I sleep well.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
I sleep well and I take naps, but just do what I love. Do what I love.
You know, I've been mildly stalking your Equity Over Everything. I've been eyeballing some hoodies that you have on your website. I really think that concept of equity over everything is incredibly powerful and at the very heart of what a lot of us are thinking about and struggling with. And that needs to be brought to the forefront. So I really appreciate you being here. I think the work that you're doing is so incredibly important. And I'm really excited to hear your talk this afternoon. And thank you so much again for being here. it's really wonderful to see you and to have you.
Well, thank you. I think that I'm going to kind of go in and out with the video just to make sure that we stay connected and kind of like streamline our connection.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing I wanted to say. And I feel like I can see the chat, but as questions come, anytime you want to pop in, let me know.
All right. So are you gonna remove your video and then just do?
Uh-huh.
Cool. Okay. I'm gonna do the same
And,
thing.
and then I'll pop back in for questions. Okay.
Perfect. All right. Cool. All right. Take it away, Aisha. It's gonna be awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Y'all, first of all, welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Friday. I am so excited to be here. If you can hear me, just drop a 1 in the chat so that I know that we can really get started and there's no technical difficulties. Excellent. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Ann. Perfect, Tara. All right. So today I want to talk to you about how to build authority or how to show up as an expert online. So that's our topic for today. I want to talk to you for those of you who don't know me. Oh, hi, Adam. Adam's my friend. I want to talk to you all for those of you who don't know me and just tell you a little bit about myself. I think Tara did an excellent job. So I'll skip the formalities, but I do want to tell you that I have a deep love for community building, social media, as well as solving community problems. And so when I put all of those things together, that kind of is what encompasses me. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a friend. And then I have this work of doing diversity, equity, and inclusivity work that I do and I carry with me as a part of my service as a student of humanity. So, what is an online authority? An online authority is all about being seen as an expert in your industry or your field. And there's a lot of benefits to being seen as an expert. The first is you're going to get more web traffic, you're going to get more engagement, you're going to get increased business, and also increased offline opportunities. To have appearances and talks and panels and workshops and keynotes, just all these different opportunities seem to kind of just float your way when you're seen as an authority in what you do. And also, like, the best thing about being seen as an authority is it increases your value. It increases the value of the product and service that you offer. It increases the value of your time, means you can absolutely raise those prices. All right. So it's really important here where you are on the spectrum of being seen as an authority. For me, I like to look at it in about 4 categories. The first is she or he does not, or they do not know what they're doing. The second is they're a novice. They're at the beginning stages of what they're doing, and their prices and their brand and their products will sort of reflect that, right? And then you have somebody who's sort of intermediate. They kind of know what they're doing. They're learning a lot. You get a lot of value from them. And then you have an expert. And that expert is a thought leader. They are adding to the conversation. They are engaging in the process of moving their industry forward, and they're on the cutting edge of what needs to happen. And so the first thing you should do is kind of identify where you are versus where you want to be. And that'll kind of help you as you go through this presentation to figure out, like, how much of this do I actually need to pick up? Where am I on this spectrum? So I guess my first question to you, I like to see in the chat is, where do you think you are on the spectrum in your industry? Are you an expert? Are you intermediate? Are you a novice? Or are you at the very beginning of this thing and you don't even know what you're doing yet? Okay, we got an intermediate. Expert. Excellent. So the thing about choosing baby novice, okay, all right. Intermediate, great. So we have people that are in all levels of their industry. And so that's going to be fun because I do feel this presentation definitely allows room for everybody to sort of grow, right? So one of the One of the things that I want to talk to you about is how do you show up feeling like you're an expert? Hi, Ann. How do you show up like an expert? So for me, the misconception I had about this whole thing, and I'm turning my video on because I want y'all to see my facial expression. I think it's super important. Okay. Can y'all see me? Okay, cool. Because sometimes you have to say stuff and people have to really see you and get a sense of spirit of what you're trying to say. So when I first started my journey, I was a girl. She don't even know what she doing. That's where I was. And every single thing that happened to me was because of my hard work, dedication, and skill set, but I didn't realize it. And oftentimes it's really hard to see yourself as an expert. But what I've learned over time is it really does not matter as much as how I see myself as how other people see me, right? Like that's really what's important. Um, how the world reacts to what I'm doing, right? That's really what's important. How other people see my skill set and my knowledge. And so now I feel like an expert because so many people have told me and I'm an expert. So many people have come to me and said, I've used your advice and it's really helped me. So really your journey through each one of these is about your connection and community and with people. Does that make sense? So it's really not as much, a lot of people talk about imposter syndrome. A lot of people talk about like all these things like, if I think you're a wedding expert, and then you're a wedding expert in my eyes, and why would you convince me of anything different? You just keep doing what you're doing and increasing and getting better. So really where you are on the spectrum of these things is really about how you show up for other people. So now I'm going to give you the secret to showing up. All right. So there are lots of ways that you can show up. The first, and I feel the most important way, is a website. And I know a lot of new school people don't feel that they need a website, that they can just use social media. But I remember thinking MySpace would never go away. I remember thinking that it would be around forever, and everything that I had there was eventually, erased. And although MySpace has been around forever, it's completely shifted its focus and changed and pivoted. So all the things that we were building on MySpace are no longer there. I thought Black Planet would be around forever, and it wasn't. So all of these different ways that people engage, whether it be Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, they kind of have an expiration date. What happens is other platforms surface and people tend to shift to them. And so you want to make sure you have your own home base as a thought leader and an industry leader. And also, you want to make sure that you have complete control over your brand, right? So website. The rest, of course, you're going to still use those social media channels. Those are really going to drive what you do. The other piece of this is you're going to need video. People love video, and especially at a time like this where we can't even hug and connect, we need more video now than ever. If you don't have a video series in your arsenal, you are missing out. Like that should be something you're doing, whether it's a series of Facebook Lives, whether it's a YouTube, whether it's IGTV, you should be doing something live because it is the most vital piece of content you can have right now. Of course, you need blogs. You still need blogs. And I know that if you are a blogger, you may have heard blogging is dead. And I think the reason for that statement is that it's not so much about blogging being dead. It's about blog posts that are centered around you, people are less interested in, and they're more centered around information seeking blog posts, information gathering blog posts. So if you're a blogger, you're still going to need to be able to provide a lot of value in your blog. And I think gone are the days where IG models are going to lack substance, right? Like I think we're moving into this consciousness where we really want substance from all of our influencers and everything that is around us because we have so much work to be done. And with the recent climate, with our climate and everything that's going on, I think people really are wanting to grab onto something real. So your blog post needs to have a lot of substance, a lot of tips, a lot of help, a lot of care, because that's what people need right now. And that's what you should be providing for your community. Of course, you want to have pictures and interviews and panels, and you need an offline presence. Well, I wrote this this talk a year ago, and an offline presence was still a luxury, right? Like there was a time when you could really be offline. You could go to a lot of networking events. You could go to a lot of talks and panels and conferences. And now all of that stuff is shifting online. So I'm going to change this to you need an offline online presence. And so what I mean by that is there are a lot of things happening in your community online right now because of the situation we're in, but it's offline in terms of the whole United States, the whole world. It's like, this is specifically for my community that I live in. This is specifically for my chamber. I want to get known in my chamber of commerce. I want to be known at my small business network center. I want to be known in my region. And so you need to look at more regional gatherings, more community gatherings, and more gatherings in your community where people do know your history and have laid eyes on you before, because we now are clinging to our offline connections even more at this difficult time. You also need guest appearances. You want to be seen as an expert by others. So for Tara to invite me on here to her platform is very special, because now I get to reach her audience, which I may not have been able to meet before. So that is one way of expanding your audience and sharing your expertise with other people. The other thing I'm going to say that you need is good webinars. You want to deliver high quality information. If you're going to be an expert, at some point people have to see that expertise. So you have to actually display it. And that's what you do in your webinars, your articles, your ebooks, your podcasts. And then if you want to be seen as a community member, a business owner, and to be valuable in your community, you want to offer some types of products and services. You got to offer some types of products and services. So to be seen as an expert, if you look at this slide a little bit, the first thing you have to do is be anchored in community. And that's what the social media is about, the video is about, website is about, pictures are about. Then secondly, you need to be connecting deeper with that community by answering their questions in interviews, sharing things that are important in panels. You need to be showing up in the spaces that matter, like your chamber, like your business network, like for me, it's the African American Business Association. I show up, right? I show up for any of those things that are local to me. And then, so that's that, let's be in conversation. Let me show you that I know my industry and that I care about you. And then that final piece is, now let me show you what I know, and let's get deep and technical and academic, and let me really push the needle with my knowledge. Are there any questions about the elements of a really great online presence? Okay, cool. I'm not used to there not being any questions. So somebody type of one, let me know you guys can still hear me. Okay. Your website is your platform. It's your home base. And I know you've heard that before. And that is something like anybody will say. And you kind of know that, right? But let's talk about it a little bit deeper about it being your platform. I like to tell my clients that their website is their business, right? Because your revenue should run through your website, your calendar should run through your website, your information should run through your website. Your thought leadership should be at your website, and people should be able to contact you. So this is the online representation of your physical business. And for a lot of people who've lost their physical business at this difficult time, or for other people who don't have any other way to do business, it is the most important piece of everything. And the number one mistake I see is that I go to a social media channel and I don't see people being sent back to the website. So a lot of times people might post a picture, but they don't send people back to the website to explore more about that picture. Or they post a video and that video doesn't link back to a blog post that sells a product on that particular thing. They post their testimonial, but then they don't link that testimonial back to on their website where somebody can get that product or service and learn more about it. That is the number one reason your social media isn't directing the traffic that you want it to direct. Because the entire purpose of social media is to bring everybody back to your website. The entire purpose of an interview is to bring everybody back to your website. The entire purpose of writing a magazine article or being quoted in a magazine article, like every single thing I just said in this slide, is to get people to come to your website. That is the whole thing. And if you haven't started that, doing that will change the game, okay? Because when you get people to your website, the more people that can see your product, the more likely you are to convert more people to your product. So a lot of people are just doing social media. They spend $1,000 a month. They have other people doing their social media. And at the end of the day, it is not increasing their web traffic because they are not leading people back to their websites with their pictures. Most people do with their blogs. Very little do with their video, because here's why. All of the platforms do better if you put your video within the platform. So if you put a video on Facebook, it's going to do much better than if you just try to like load a video up from like YouTube, right? So the trick is to load it up from Facebook today, let it run through Facebook, but download that sucker, put it on your website, and next week, when you want to lead people to it, you lead them back to your website. So everything is about being led back to your website. And I don't think that a lot of people talk about that enough. I don't think a lot of people share the importance of getting back to that website, because that is really what social media is about. Social media is about being in a community and leading people, like, you know, think of capitalism, the busy marketplace. And now you're saying, come to my store, come to my website. So I think that is the most important thing to get from this slide. But make sure you have these things on your website. You're going to need pictures. You're going to need video. You need blogs. You need testimonial. You need SEO. And then you need social media integration. So those are the things that you need so that you can get to where I'm saying that we need to get to. All right. Type a 2 in the box if you are if you're tracking what I'm saying and you can hear me well and you don't have any questions. I never thought about my blog website as my store. So quick story, Ann Smith, quick story. First time I freaking went viral, 60,000 views in one day on my blog, and I had no product. Why? Because that was how you feel. If you don't have a product on your blog, then what are you doing? It's a hobby because you can't make money. So even if you're blogging, you got to have some product, whether it's a t-shirt, a mug. And honestly, y'all, I did not want to do the equity over everything t-shirts because I felt they were cliche. I was like, everybody got a t-shirt. But you know what? This is what America likes. And so I have been able to not only sell my t-shirts online, but my t-shirts are even in a couple stores, right? So it's like, you just have to do what the industry calls for. And then you can disrupt it once you understand it. But you definitely, and like, if you're doing this wedding situation, you need to figure out, other than just the videos that you're in partnership with, how am I going to make money to sustain my family? Am I going to be selling a wedding planner? Am I going to do wedding planning consultation? Am I going to build a wedding website? Like, what is it that you're going to do that's going to allow people who love your website to partake in what you do? If you follow me, you may have noticed that I have my Nappy Thoughts, which is my personal blog. My personal blog is my personal blog site is where I have the most followers. I think I have like 22,000 followers, and I do a lot of memes, but not like silly memes. I do a lot of memes about health, healing, growth, development, being Black, racism, love, privilege. And so it's really a love letter to Black people. And I get a lot of traction. And because people enjoy that site, they tend to buy whatever supports that site, right? And that's on my so that's what I feel like. So Ann says, I'm here to figure out how to monetize my wedding resource blog. So at the end, we can talk more about specific issues like that. I love troubleshooting issues like that. All right, so the next piece of this is, like I've already told you, you got to get people back to your website. What you have to do is strategically. So authority through social media, it just means extending your online presence and showcasing your authority. And the way you do that is you need a strategy. You need to figure out, I'm going to tell you, there's a girl, her name is Javasia. Her last name starts with a B. Her brand is C. Jane Wright. She was diagnosed with cancer, and the strategy that she used to share her story, she went from, I have a secret that I have to tell y'all, I just don't even know how to tell y'all, to, hey, I'm going into my first chemo treatment, to, this is what I'm doing to take care of myself here. Like, so all of her stuff was just so well organized and so well planned. And then, like y'all, in the middle of battling cancer, she opened up her membership group, which I'm sure she probably needed to with the bills. She opened up her membership group and welcomed hundreds of new members using just that one, campaign. One campaign. So you have to have a strategy. Number two thing that I don't think people do enough is they don't post frequently and consistently enough. I mean, for my Nappy Thoughts page, I'm posting 12 to 15 times a day on a slow day, right? So I don't think people post enough to build national audiences because we're so worried about what the people who live in our neighborhood are going to think. But if your content is good, I'll tell you this, nobody will complain. Nobody has ever sent me anything from Nappy Thoughts and said, you post too much, ever. They're like, keep them coming. Thank you. I needed this. I look forward to this every day. Like, so if you're posting what's good, then people will love it. And that's how you engage your audience. You really have to know your audience. And my son is building a business, and he is very passionate about his audience. And so when we're just discussing, when he's planning, he knows, he's like, my audience is not going to want to do that. They're not going to want to do that. This is what they like. I've seen them do this. He at 18 he's 19 today, today's birthday. But at 19, he has a very good command of what teens his age want, what they need, and what makes them engaged. And he's really called that down through participation. And so that's what I've learned about his process. He doesn't go in and say, like, I want to be the wedding planner of wedding planners. He would go to a lot of weddings and he would see what the planners are doing. And then he identified their mistakes and innovate them. And so I just invite you to truly engage with the audience and the community. Because when you have an industry, it's like you have your customers and then you have your industry. So in your industry, you're going to have your cake bakers, your event planners, your DJs, right? You got all these other different pieces to that industry. And all of those people can connect you to more people. And so you really want to just engage in the industry audience. The next piece is share your story. And I want to be clear. There are a lot of people that say, use your story, use your story. If you were here at the beginning and you heard my bio, then you know that I work in a lot of communities, in a lot of spaces where trauma is very real. You don't want to traumatize people with your story. So when you share your story, make sure you share it in such a way that it makes sense to hire you next. Don't let it trail off into tears. Don't let sharing your story be more about therapy than selling. And I see that very often. And so that I want to make sure that that's clear. And then the final piece is like you build a community of practice. Build a community of people who show up for you, who practice what you are saying, and who come back and call you on it, right? Because a true expert has research. They have white papers. They have marketing case studies. They have case studies. So you need to be doing your own case studies. You need to be doing your own analysis. You need to be sharing your story, connecting with people in your industry at every level, and then posting frequently. And it must be done strategically. That is going to be the key to that. The next piece is that offline piece. And it's so interesting because, like I said, I should have updated the slideshow for this presentation, but I'm not, because I kind of want to explain where I'm coming from about, even though it's not offline because of where the way we are, it's totally offline. And I'm going to explain more. So how do you show up offline? The number one way to do that is print material. In my community where I live in Asheville, the Mountain Express is a print paper and it hasn't stopped printing. The Urban News is a print paper and they haven't stopped printing. Hola Carolina is a print paper. Asheville Citizen Time, all these papers are still going. And now more than ever, they are figuring out how to get into people's homes. So it's an excellent way to partner with like the newspaper, but print materials still work. Mailed materials still works. It used to be a time when I was doing speaking engagements in person. That doesn't seem like it's the case anymore. But when I say offline in this sense, I mean, can you speak at the Association of Marketers for Asheville? Or can you speak at the PTA for the local high school? Like, can you make it local and make it make sense and really bring in that sense of community and that I'm a real person and you can trust me with your business feel? Talks and panels are now, of course, online, but you need to be on panels with the people that are in your community that are showing up so that you have that local piece and that national piece. And then networking events. I think we're at a stage where I used to say everybody should have a blog, and I still feel that way. But I think with this particular situation, and that we're all online, I'm also saying everybody should have a networking event. Everybody should have an event where they bring people together, who bring together more people who don't know them, so that they can expand their reach organically and naturally, because it's hard to get in a room with people. So that is going to be a good solution for you. You have to have a product, a merchandise, a product, a service. You have to have some kind of way that you are making money. And a lot of people always tell me, like, Aisha, it's not about the money. And I say to them, business is all about the money. In fact, in order to do it really well, they pick the winners based off who made the most money. So you need to figure out, how am I going to be bringing in revenue so that I can print the materials, so that I can have time to write the speeches, so I can conduct the webinars, so I can put on the networking event, right? And now with everything going on, I still think volunteering is the number one way to truly connect offline, whether that's doing a food bank, or even if you are in this pandemic and you really don't want to leave your house and you want to do everything this way, you can volunteer virtually. You can reach out to share your time, talent, and treasure with organizations virtually and still reap the benefits of connectivity and the kind of that offline connection. So I suggest that. And then also branded events like this one. This is done by AlchemyThree, and it's a branded event, and I'm here and I'm meeting new people, and I'm sure Tara is meeting new people too. Okay. So I am not it's not that I'm not a big fan of SEO, because I am, but I think that a lot of people overestimate its effectiveness and overestimate its ability. Now, I have a friend who had a company that made about $300,000 a year, and he became number one in his local area, and he increased his services, and he gained. I think he was saying he made like $500,000 the next year. No, he made slightly over $500,000, like 600,000. So he doubled his business, right? And he attributed it completely to SEO. So SEO is real and it can help you. The thing is, though, y'all, he had a lawn care business. That meant when people wanted to get their grass cut, he was the first person who came up. That's why, because people get their grass cut, and he was the first person to come up. Most of the people, so a little bit about his business. He has 3 teams of people that he could deploy locally to cut grass. So many people are trying to get to the top of the SEO situation, and they could not even do the business if it was the number one, because they don't have 3 teams to deploy. It's just them. So if you're a solopreneur and you're trying to get to like the number one slot in your business, the number one SEO slot, think about what that means for you, right? What do you want to rank number one for, and why? It's like the Groupon thing. So many businesses, they rely on Groupon so they go out of business, right? Because I've seen a lot of people get hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of sales from Groupon and not necessarily be ready to take them on. So in terms of SEO, here's what I recommend. And it's not going to get you to number one, but it is going to get you SEO and being able to be found. And then I'll tell you how to be number one. Okay. So the first thing is you're going to be creating high quality, valuable content. And I'll tell you, as long as you're providing people with high value, high quality content, people will show up to your blog. They will bookmark it, and they won't need Google, and they'll remember the name of it. Number 2, you want to make sure that you get your reviews in Yelp, Google, Angie's List, and things like that, because it does help you come up in the search engines. You also want to create guest posts that lead back to your site from other high quality websites. And so what I mean by that is, like, I was in Forbes 2 weeks ago. My quote being in Forbes led back to my site, which built the authority of my site, which made mine, like, for Forbes to set a backlink to my site, made my site go up. So if you could get in when I do it, I try to do it in like local newspapers. I try to do it in places where I know they have a big following and that their website has more value than mine, for sure. Pretty permalinks. So permalinks are those, like, how if you go to aishaadams.com, you'll see my blog, my page. It's making sure it's not aishaadams.com #-123. You want to get that out of your titles because they're hard to find, and they're hard to index, for Google to index. And then you also want to use all of the fancy tools that Google has for you. Analytics, which I love, Webmaster, AdWords, and AdSense. And so what I want to tell you about SEO is a lot like becoming an authority. You're going to be at the, I don't even know what I'm doing, to the novice, to the intermediate, to the expert. And so just like really coming clean here, I do create high quality content. I do get a lot of reviews for Google, but I'm not doing Yelp or Angie's List because they don't really fit the work that I do. But I do create guest posts that lead back from high quality websites. I use pretty permalinks. I use analytics. Webmaster is connected, but I don't use it very often. AdWords, I have the ability to use it, but I prefer to use businesses I want businesses who I really know to advertise with me and who really know me, and so that we can really build a collaboration and partnership together. So I'm less likely to use AdWords as maybe a choice, but AdSense I do use for my YouTube channel, and I've been getting paid from YouTube since probably 2013, 14, something like that. So I just say, use your tools wisely and make sure that you're just a student of SEO and that you're just learning as you go. I put Yoast plugin here. To be honest, I did it because when I created this presentation, Yoast had sponsored me to speak in Philadelphia, and I created this slideshow for that. But I've been using them since then, and I really like what they offer. And if you ask, most professionals will say that Yoast SEO is the #1 SEO plugin for WordPress. And it's very intuitive. And I think it's great for like just getting the site SEO'd on a basic level. All right, any questions? All right. Trying to think about how I want to say this. Okay. So, in front of everybody, like, I'm wondering about the links between you, how you connect that personal identity and following and the professional branded one. Okay, we can talk about that. And I think this is going to answer your question, Erica. I think this is it. So if you're at a conference, if you're in a classroom, if I'm on a panel, everybody wants to talk about SEO. It is like, this is where the conversation is. But where I found my money is through good citizenship. And I want to explain that to you. So my company is Aisha Adams Media. And Aisha Adams Media, I do talks like this. I do trainings, I do webinars, and I do workshops. And I've had amazing clients that I do that for. Equity over everything is the social responsibility leg of my company, right? So we aim to contribute to society at large through supporting and engaging in ethical oriented practices like equity, diversity, and inclusivity, right? And so once I started to show up and do good in the world, and my company started to show up and show our values and who we were and what we were about, more people wanted to engage with Aisha Adams Media. Does that make sense? Because equity over everything is really just about being a student of humanity, showing up in community, supporting and engaging ethical practices like making sure we're not using too much paper, making sure that we're not allowing our privilege to give us blinders in the policies and procedures that we make, showing up to the community meeting and using our brand as a part of the authority to say, we don't like how this is happening. We think this is the way it should go. That's why I'm able to make so much money in Aisha Adams Media without a lot of SEO. Because if people aren't looking for me in Google, they're emailing me directly. They're calling me directly. They're showing up on my Facebook. They are wanting some of my magic because they want to know, who is this girl who is independent from these companies and willing to stand up for them? That's what I want to be. I want to be a part of something bigger than me. And so I'm going to tell you that this to me is the real SEO. So then the second part of this is the citizenship. The citizenship is it's like how we contribute to our community's needs. So being specifically focused on what's going on in Asheville, and being specifically focused on what's going on in Western North Carolina, and being specifically focused on what's going on in the South, right? That doesn't mean I won't do something for someone in New York, but I'm specifically concerned about these things. And so I really pour into my social responsibility and citizenship, and it does give my business a personal reputation, increased sales, customer loyalty. It has developed me both personally and professionally. And it has allowed me the ability to retain and attract amazing people to work with. Yes, that makes sense. How does your personal online identity, nappy thoughts, feed into that? So I can tell you all day about diversity, equity, and inclusivity. But if you don't know who I am, why would you believe me? If you don't know what makes me tick, why would you care? I can give you all the thought leadership from all the books I've read, all the colleges I've gone to, all the degrees I have. Like all of that is fine, nice, well, and good. But you just want to know, like, does this chick even like? I'm sitting here talking about diversity, equity, and inclusivity, and it's like, do you even know if I'm raising a black son, or what is that like for me, and how do I engage with that? Am I really the person that you want to get your information from? If you don't see me engaging with my, like, we are no longer, back in the day, if you were a business person, you were important. Nobody cares now. Like, nobody cares that you, like, everybody's got a brand. Everybody's brand. People care about what is really being pushed through their community and what impact is being made and how much you love, right? Like how you show up. So for me, this is the real SEO. I will tell you that most people that I buy from, I want to know more about their personal life. And I really buy from them because I like who they are. And it's a lot less about the product that they have. It's about them. And we buy into people. So how do all of these brands coexist? So I have Aisha Adams Media. That's my LLC. It's the thing that I do. Nappy Thoughts is my personal brand. Whether I was a teacher, when I was a teacher, I had Nappy Thoughts. When I didn't have no job, I had Nappy Thoughts. I used to have this podcast called 3 Degrees and No Job. So like, I've always done, Nappy Thoughts is me. It's Aisha. It doesn't matter like any of that other stuff, right? Like, it matters that, yeah, it's cool that Aisha's over here on the Alchemy page, but what does she do when no one else is looking? That's really is what is going to make you decide if you want to be in my group, if you want to follow me. It's like, what does she do? What does she do in her spare time? Is she on here saying that she's socially responsible, but then at the same time, every time I'm on her page, she's like wasting the environment away? You got to build a deepness, a depth, especially in this climate where we don't get to touch and people don't get to engage. You have to build that depth. And so Nappy Thoughts is my depth. Nappy Thoughts has been the most important piece of my career because that's where the celebrities like have big up me, like Killer Mike will share a post. And that's what makes me a diversity, equity, and inclusivity special. Being able to interview Beyonce's dad about what is it like, what does it take to raise Beyonce? Like, how do we raise a Beyonce? I'm probably the only person who has that information on their personal blog, right? This is what I do in my spare time. It's like, that's me because I care. I wanted to know, what does a man do to raise a Beyonce? That's not Aisha Adams Media. It's not Equity Over Everything, but it's still a part of the bigger space of the conversation. And so people who get to engage with me on Nappy Thoughts are lifelong customers often. A lot of people will say, well, I'm just not into that. I just want the information. And that's what Aisha Adams Media is for. So people go to that site for that. And some people don't care to hear about the marketing and training. They just want the equity piece. And so they can go there. So I have all of them there so people can pick and choose what they need and how much they need. And it's interesting. Some people follow all three. And so we try not to duplicate posts because of that. And then some people follow just one. So that's what I mean. You're speaking to the values that make up who you are and how we actualize them. This is what makes the difference in customers connecting with you. Exactly. You guys, I am swamped with work and I may have spent $1,000 on advertising my entire business since 2014. And when I mean advertising, I mean social media posts, everything. Like, I'm building community. In fact, my business model, was built off of the Kardashian business model. Actually, when I first saw the Kardashians, I was on a work retreat and I'd never seen it before. But I'm a big fan of Kanye West, and it was like keeping up with the Kardashians, and Kanye was on there. So I was like, let me see what these people talking about. I never watched them before, and I knew everybody hated them. So I was like, let me see what's going on. So I watched it, and it was like the girl who was in the hotel with me. She was like watching this marathon, and it was an episode. And they were getting ready to open up like a new clothing store. And Kim was like, well, can't use my name. And they were like, what? And she was like, yeah, I got my name trademarked, and you can't just use my name. You have to pay more. I was like, holy crap. I was like, I want to do whatever that girl does. She just breathing and making money, right? Like she's just breathing. And so then I had to build my own life. I want to be just breathing and making money. Well, I get a lot of business through my connection with the MLK Association, but I would be showing up for the MLK Association whether I was making money or not, because that's what I would be doing. To me, showing up for the MLK Association is just breathing. You know what I mean? So when people always ask me like, how do you do so much? I'm really not doing so much. I'm doing what I love to do. I'm connecting with the people that I love. I'm showing up for the causes that I love. And that in turn loves me back, because the universe is all about reciprocity. Right? That's alchemy. So how can you work with me? Right now, the best way to work with me is probably through my tribe that I'm in the process of collecting people for. And basically, it is a monthly masterclass that you get from me, plus a private Facebook group. And so it is a 12-month program. Each month you get a new class. And then you have like, we're going to have these Facebook activities. So I'm super excited about that. Definitely, if you want to sit down with me and coach one-to-one, that is an option for you. But I'm in the middle of, I sold one of my programs to Lenore Ryan University, and I'm in the middle of launching a institute. And so my hours are very slim. So I suggest that as well. And then I have a 4-week program that I do, which is called Build and Launch. It's not up on the site, but if you email me, we can get you linked into that. But it's for people who have at least already attended one of my workshops and are really sure that they want to do the work. So those are the things. If you want to just stay connected to me, you can text me AAMG to 66866, and that will be awesome. So I'm going to take questions. So if you have any questions, we have about 9 minutes. Thanks, Ann. We have about 9 minutes, and I'm here to answer your questions. And I'll start with Ann's question about monetization. So Ann, it's really going to be up to you how you monetize your site. But I will tell you that I wasn't successful at the digital space until I had 7 different types of incomes. And my goal was to try to get each of them up to 1,000. So that was like my strategy. And when I had each of them up to like 500, I was living good. But as I got each of them up to 1,000, it was better. And then I started adding on more. So you could do affiliate links. You can, and you can do, yeah, I got each of my streams, because my streams, just like the amount of purchases a month. Like I was looking at, okay, how am I going to make $1,000 a month off my digital store? Well, I needed to make how many sales? Well, about what price point? Because with the digital space, it's really hard to predict your income at first. And it's about a steady growth and momentum. So your followers don't really matter, because a lot of people don't even know how to follow people or the importance. Like if you're not into social media, you don't know that. But that doesn't mean you're not getting married and you don't need a product or service. So it's all about like, how many sales per month can I make? Just like it would be if you were like a vacuum salesman or a real insurance salesperson. You just really want to make sure that you're setting yourself up that your streams can actually make income. So when I first started, because it was digital, I was putting my price points too low. And so that made my work super hard. And I was like, how can I make $1,000 for each stream? The reason why I suggest having streams and looking at it that way is because the internet is so finicky. How Amazon ranks products today might not be how Amazon ranks products tomorrow. And so to alleviate that stress, you need to diversify where your stuff's coming from. I mean, Facebook changes algorithm. Like one day you can be getting 300 people to your page and the next minute you're getting 30. So you don't want to focus on that. You want to focus on diversifying how you bring in income. And so I bring in private contracts, which is my largest source. I bring in my digital sales, my merchandise sales, webinars and workshops, right? Coaching. Then I bring in advertising, and then I bring in keynotes, talks, and conferences, right? So if I can do all of those at 1,000, then my income is like $7,000 a month. I can survive, you know. And when I first started, like I said, all of my income wasn't that. Luckily, my private contracts are much larger than that. But I needed a baseline for how can I give enough energy to each one of these things so that when one falls off, the other one does not. And that is really a part of this internet movement nobody talks about. Do y'all remember when eBay was super big? And if you had something on eBay, it was super easy to make a lot of money. I'm not saying people aren't still on eBay, but eBay's changed and does it the same way anymore. It's not as often, right? It's not as big. It's like people aren't as into that. So just make sure when you do it, you need to figure out what your different streams are going to be. And for me, don't get tied to a stream. Let your audience tell you. So you do a little bitty project and you see how your audience responds and you let them tell you. So I didn't realize, like, honestly, like I can make more money doing a Facebook Live than building a product because people really just want to hear me talk. They really want to connect with me deeper. They really want to have conversation with me. So that's really where my value is. But I had to learn that by looking at my analytics, listening to my audience, and allowing them to help me. So I hope that, oh, good. She said good advice. Top notch. Any other questions, concerns?
That was really great, Aisha. Yeah, that I am so digging how you're talking about being anchored in community, right? That identify and innovate. The universe is all about reciprocity. So many great tidbits. And what you mentioned about diversifying the various streams, incredibly smart because we need to be in control of our own assets, right? So that's what's key is we have to be ready to pivot. We have to be ready to work our way through the pandemics, which will likely occur later on once we get a handle on this one, right? And really digging into that community and allowing that community to inform and determine the direction that you take. So essential. Listen more than you speak, right? So key.
And just like in terms of this pandemic, like I just suggest everybody, if you haven't taken a moment, go and research the past pandemics and see how long they took to resolve. And then see who became millionaires, because pandemics do make millionaires, by the way. So see who became a millionaire during that time. See what they did. See how they adapted. We do have that, those primary resources to drive us in our business research.
Heck yes. Yep. Research and listening and connecting when we can't physically connect with one another. So important. This was really wonderful, Aisha. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I want to encourage you all to connect with her, follow her, pay close attention to what she's doing. I'm going to do the same. Such an inspiration. Aisha, I would love to check in with you again. If that's cool, bring you on and maybe either have a conversation or you could talk about something different. But this is chock full of so much good info. And you guys, I'm going to be uploading this to the AlchemyThree YouTube channel. So look out for that so that you'll have access to this talk moving forward. And you can what there's a lot of good stuff, so you can dig into it later. Thank you again, Aisha. Thank you to all of you for attending today. I really appreciate it.
I'm going to be looking for you. I see Aya all the time, and I know Adam really well, but I'm going to be looking for you, Erica, seriously online, okay? And Jackie, if you catch the end of the replay, it was nice hanging out with you today, too.
So Jackie actually gave a presentation in this group. She's a fantastic coach. So she was here. You could check out her talk. Also,
was she last week?
She was, I want to say, a month and a half ago. She was.
I caught the one last week. That's what took me so long. I was like, let me see what they're doing over there, and that's what took me so long to get back with you.
Yeah.
I'm
trying to keep the ball rolling, and I want to have some frequent flyers in the group, and I would love to have you back. And Erica, she's a super good friend of mine. She's in my area, so in case you all didn't catch on, Aisha is she's in Asheville, North Carolina. And of course, I'm in Concord, Massachusetts. Erica is also in Concord, and she has a really fascinating business concept that there is a need for, but we're trying to help people realize that they need it without realizing they need it. Anyway, it's a long story. You should check out our site, perchplanning.com. And thank you again. And I would love to catch up with you one-to-one at a later date. And
anytime. Thank you so much. I mean, now I can put Massachusetts on my dot.
Yeah, stick it there. Come see us. Absolutely. Once we can actually see each other again, I'm going to be seeing you at word camps too. So.
Oh, okay. So you know what? We probably met because I travel all with word camp all over. So we may have met at a different one.
Maybe. I mean, yeah. I think you're more in that scene than I am probably. I kind of popped in at Asheville and they were like, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "Why not? I just wanted to see what it was all about." So yeah.
Well, cool. Well, you are officially in. I put you in the cool clubs, cool kids club.
Yes.
Officially in.
Woohoo!
Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Have a great weekend. Thanks again, Aisha.
Bye.
Bye.